The UN's Climate Change Summit, which is currently underway in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, and India is at the heart of things. Union Environment Minister Bhupendra Yadav, representing India at the summit, inaugurated the India Pavilion and spoke about India's commitment to green and sustainable energy through the policies of the government. A historic development. For the first time ever, the conference has compensation to third world countries for damage caused by climate change is part of the agenda for the conference. Ambassador Goyal, this has been a matter of debate for years. Common but differentiated responsibilities between the first world and the third world. It's finally getting its place in these conferences, especially COP27, which is one of the most important climate change conferences in the world.
Yes, Gauri, two or three things here which come to. If you recall, at the last COP, Prime Minister Modi had already announced the national commitments to the climate goals by announcing that India would be 25% or something, I don't remember exactly, by 2050. So we had, in that sense, already announced a target to the world of fulfilling our responsibilities and going beyond that. The problem, China had done so. The problem is not really just national commitments, the common and differentiated responsibilities. The problem is really that transition to these climate goals will require enormous resources and transfer of resources from the developed countries to the developing countries, simply because without these resources, technologies that we need cannot be introduced. It is not simply a question of who is responsible, who is not responsible. But I think that even if you want to achieve these goals, which is the common responsibility of the entire globe, where are the resources going to come from? Even if you commit certain part of the resources nationally, will that be enough? Now, I'm hearing the debate really is going on that even the countries which have been affected by natural disasters, they wanted a fund to be created to meet their requirement, and the rich countries are actually balking at it. They don't want to provide fund for even the natural disaster. So with this kind of an behavior, with this kind of an attitude, I think these climate goals are going to remain elusive. Whatever may be the UNSC who says keep crying, but ultimately because of the politics and I think the tendency to evade responsibilities of finding the resources, the whole thing is going to basically again be as talk shop and speeches and sloganism. I really don't think that we are anywhere near, and particularly after what you see in Europe, that's shifting to coal. Europe is shifting to coal because Ukraine and Russia are not able to supply the gas and energy they need. So where are we going to go? Coal is becoming a major energy resource again. So there are a lot of contradictions, and unfortunately, we will have to live with this for many, many more decades to come, I think. Gauri.
Right. Wing Commander Bakshi, India has been at the forefront as far as renewable energy is concerned, be it solar or now even wind power is concerned. Many of the top countries in the world, including the United States, have been very fickle as far as climate change is concerned. We saw a very dramatic exit, in fact, by Rishi Sunak out of the COP27 exit. We're certainly unsure right now as to what it was, but India has been very out there. Do you think it's India's time to lead the world in terms of these climate change, environment and global warming related issues are concerned?
Yes, India is very concerned about it because India, Gauri, has been affected a lot by the climate change. And in fact, you would be surprised, the solar energy, the wind power which you are talking of, the number of projects which have been launched by India and initiated by India. In fact, if you travel towards Jaisalmer and other places, you will find the effect of this, that how effective these are. But the question is, are they a part of a national policy? And by the way, when we are talking in terms of resources, the preservation of resources, because the climate change is affecting them. President Murmu had made a statement regarding preservation of water resources. That aspect she had made abundantly clear. Now this must become an international thought process. because there are so many rivers, so the countries are adjoining countries, are sharing the rivers, etc. Joint use, joint forums, joint working force to preserve the efficacy of the river, the pollution aspect of the river, and the quantum of water flow into the river is now going to become an international aspect, and India must drive this point home. And especially when we talk in terms of disaster, like a tsunami, now why can't we have, I had attended a conference in which it was suggested international disaster management organization should be there, where all the countries should get together. And because disaster is taking place from the climate point of view, it doesn't stop at a border. It is trans-border. So this aspect is also very important. So India must carry out this effort. But one aspect which will remain is that in case the climate change, etc. aspect is there, there are countries, as our Ambassador Saab was bringing out, that the countries with lesser technology and all are going to make a huge losses also. So there should be a compensation of losses for the countries by the richer countries. Now a joint forum, we can draw out all these points. Until and unless we sit on the table together with all the countries and keeping everybody's interest in mind, then only we can proceed, whether it is climate change, water preservation, disaster management, whatever the case may be.
Right. So several important points brought out both by the Ambassador and Wing Commander Bakshi. Major Shah, do you agree that it's not just compensation, it's also tech transfer, it's human resources, expertise transfer, which is also required for third world countries like India to take the lead, which we are already taking the lead, but in terms of moving forward with clean tech?
Absolutely, Gauri, 100%, and you are bang on there. And it is not just, there is a lot more, that meets the eye. There is a lot more that actually one has to contribute. For example, the climate change conference which is happening at the Sharm el-Sheikh Convention Center in Egypt, 16 to 18 November, 12 days. It's a very, very good idea. Now, climate change has become a problem for the entire world. National calamities, disaster, like, we recently saw a flood in Pakistan where thousands of people died from June. This can happen anywhere, not just Pakistan. And of course, India sent its sympathies through a tweet. Our Prime Minister tweeted. Now, the formation of Quad, which is now to curb the Chinese aggression. America, Australia, Japan, and India. India is a strategic partner. The formation of Quad also happened after tsunami. So global warming is a major issue again. So we saw summers, we saw heat in Delhi, we saw abnormal rain, we saw abnormal summers, abnormal winters. This is a major problem, and a national calamity is something beyond your control. For example, a man-made disaster, okay, fine, I can imagine. Like Russia-Ukraine is a man-made disaster, which is going on right now. But what do we do for a national calamity, and how prepared are we? The National Disaster Management Committee, unfortunately, let me be very blunt in saying, in India especially, we do not really take national calamities. We've had landslides, we've had tragedies at Vaishno Mata, the pilgrims have suffered. But unfortunately, we do not take national calamities and such disasters very, very seriously unless and until it actually strikes us. So they always say prevention is better than cure. So, but why is it that only when, I'll use for example, like, when we have a dental problem, we will not go to a dentist unless we have a pressing problem where the tooth actually starts aching and you can't sleep the entire night. Only then we will decide to go to a dentist. Why can't we keep things in order throughout, so that even when such a calamity takes place, like the Nepal earthquake which happened, it devastated the entire of Nepal. India sent a lot of help, a lot of aid, because India is a good friend. So similarly, when we have conference like that in Egypt, and the entire international community comes together and in support of each other, it is only a good sign. And yes, a lot can be done when we join hands together, Gauri.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.